Hello. Okay, so as kind of like my final addition to this first part of my research in this series, I'd like to do a final comparison on kind of these design principles, if you will, for mascots and character brands. We've went through Counterprint's book and kind of reviewed the processes and some other current mascots and throughout different industries as just kind of like a cursory understanding of this field. And I thought it would be helpful if we compared and contrasted some mascots as sort of a way to round out this idea. Anytime we've discussed this, I've sort of had these categories in mind about how to discuss mascots, whether the mascot is stylized or whether it's realistic, what form it takes, if it takes on the product's shape, where it sits in the brand, if it's core to the identity or if it's additional, what industry it's part of, if its company is sort of a heritage brand, or if it's more modern, and whether that character is cute or not. And lastly, if all of those things, I think, kind of help make it exist as a living, animated mascot character, or if it's more of a static symbol or, kind of like this illustrative symbol that stands for the brand, right? There are 4 mascots here that I want to compare and contrast and dig into first, and then compare and contrast with each other. And they each happen to be penguin mascots. Yes, exciting. One of those is Penguin Books, right? The publishing house. Another is Donpen, the penguin mascot of the Asian discount megastore Don Quijote. There's also the Suica Penguin, which I don't think has a name. Which is sort of like part of a tap card and like an overall like charge card out of Japan. And then finally there's Pingu, a claymation character that's kind of like bridged the border from being in old, children's television to kind of being its own merchandising line, similar to something like you would see with Hello Kitty, growing its own following. Okay, so first, Penguin Books. Penguin Books is a publishing house founded by Alan Lane, originally in 1935. Publisher frustrated by a lack of affordable, well-designed literature, he chose a penguin as the symbol for his imprint, something that was dignified but flippant. At the time, he had taken on, it looks like Edward Young was the first guy to draw the penguin for Penguin Books. Oh, it says here that Joan Coles, who first suggested the idea of a penguin, was the secretary to Alan Lane. The bird's quirky yet dignified appearance struck Lane as a perfect representation of what Penguin Books stood for. Yeah, Edward Young was a 21-year-old designer at the company who created the logo. Pretty wild. He probably didn't get paid anything to make the logo. As the mid-20th century ushered in modernist designs, there was a growing preference for simplicity and abstraction. Penguin Book embraced this trend. 1946, Jan Schichold, an influential German typographer, overhauled Penguin's design principles, refined the logo, improved consistency, standardized layouts. That's probably where we get such a beautiful layout now. This version of the penguin was slimmer, more of a deliberate silhouette, right? In 2003, Angus Highland of Pentagram redrew the penguin's identity, slimming it further, maybe 15%-ish to accommodate narrow book spines. Yeah, trying to make it fit, making it usable, right? It's fun to draw a penguin, but if it doesn't fit where you need it to go, it's useless. Highland commented that earlier versions had become inconsistent over reproduction, redrawing, and digitization, right? Yeah, they've used this so many times and in so many formats, they wanted one singular symbol. Young's penguin logo was redesigned a number of times in the first decade. A version where the penguin looked to the right. In most logos now it's facing left. Version of the penguin also was dancing, and it was jauntier, more playful. That's been removed. Okay, the pentagram designer said the first decision was to slim it down for practical reasons, although I often referred to it as putting a 50-year-old on the treadmill, right? It's an old bird, keeping it in shape. Penguin Book, right, is I I guess, retail publisher. The Penguin doesn't have a name itself. I would say that this is a realistic farm. It is core to the identity. You'll see this penguin everywhere, right? It has an iconic silhouette and balance of colors there. This is the book publishing industry, retail maybe. And I would call this a heritage brand, right? They make merchandise. I'm sure the penguin is on there. But I don't know if this would count necessarily as a mascot as much as a character brand or an illustrative symbol, right? Suica Penguin. Let's go to Japan, 2001. The JR East, which is their train line, introduces a new contactless train card called Suica, which is super short for Super Urban Intelligent Card, right? They needed a mascot, something that felt fast, fluid, and friendly, not unfamiliar for Japanese brands. The artist Chiharu Sakuzaki was an illustrator known for simple but emotional characters. Her Suica Penguin was chosen because penguins move smoothly through water, a metaphor for seamless transit. Chiharu Sakuzaki is a Japanese illustrator from Chiba Prefecture, studied at Tokyo University of the Arts, Department of Design. From 1998 onward, she worked freelance, illustrations, character designs, picture books, and other creative projects. Among her recognized works are Suica Penguin, Chiba-kun, and other characters. So she has a history of doing other characters. Over time, the designs have allowed for regional variants and versions. The Suica Penguin is adapted into different costumes, colors, and motifs, tied to specific prefectures or promotional campaigns. In press news of 2025, new plush keychains were released with originally themed designs, building on Sakuzaki's original design, preserving core proportions but varying outfits. That seems more mascot-y to me. Maybe this is just for JR East, but Suica is also like electronic money. I feel like they do a lot of other things. Like you can use them at stores and stuff too, not just for the trains. There's a platypus that often accompanies it. Maybe there's others now. Since then, merchandise featuring the penguin has become highly desirable, from home goods to plush toys and even apparel. Such goods can often be found at shops near major train stations, umbrellas, stuff like that. In 2016, Suica's Penguin Park opened just outside Shinjuku Station. A bronze statue of the penguin himself welcomes visitors to a small park. During different holidays, more penguins can be found in temporary installations. There is a short biography that states that he came to Tokyo from Antarctica and his favorite food is fish sausage. Okay, so this sort of ventures on more of a mascot, and I would say just because it has a narrative to it. There's animations within its campaign. Okay, well, I would say that, this is obviously a stylized version of a penguin. It feels more abstract, more exaggerated, compared to penguin books, right? Publishing. I want to say that the penguin is core to the Suica identity, but maybe additional for the JR East brand. Something like Extra Nice, like we discussed previously, their character for It's Nice That's Extra Nice is kind of like there, but also secondary. This is the travel and industry? Travel and tourism infrastructure. I would say that this is a modern brand, but I'm going to say that this is cute. And it is a living character. I would say that, I don't know if I said this already, but Penguin Books I don't know if it's meant to be cute. I think it's meant to be smooth and direct and obvious, but I don't know if it's cute per se. I would say that this is. Okay, this is a big one. This one was new to me, but I felt like a good other end to this spectrum of penguin mascots is Donpen, which is like the star of Don Quijote, like this chaotic discount store in Japan. If Suica and Penguin Book are the calm penguins, Donpen is chaos, right? It's blue, it's like very cartoony, big eyeballs, and it has like some katakana on its belly. Donpen doesn't have a clearly credited mascot designer, it looks like. I'm just Googling here. The mascot seems to have evolved within Don Quixote's in-house promotional store design culture, possibly by staff artists. Someone who isn't credited and who's underpaid. Okay, Donpen was introduced in 1998. Donpen's original story was born in Antarctica, raised in Tokyo, appears in store signage, materials, and seasonal costumes. He has his midnight blue body and a red nightcap as a symbol of, this being a 24-hour store up late at night, right? Because Donpen is a corporate mascot, different stores, regions often modify his outfit. Don Quixote, Hawaii, then he'll have like a different hat there, or like different items, right? Maybe some floral patterns that are reminiscent of Hawaii. In 2022, the company tried to replace him with a new mascot. BBC article, survives the axe. Don Quixote, called Donkey in Japan, has over 600 stores in the country. The company announced on Twitter it had decided to replace the penguin with Dojo-chan. It did not give a reason for the change. Prompted an outpouring of dismayed reactions online. Some fans posted photos of themselves in Donpen onesies, while others threatened to boycott. Yes. This is what we want. Yeah, this takes on more of a life. I guess this is... Another user launched a poll asking which mascot Donkey fans preferred. That attracted more than 33,000 clicks, with Donpen winning 93% of the vote. Yeah, the change also appeared to have blindsided Don Quixote president Naoki Yoshida. He said he didn't understand the situation either, and he asked relevant departments for clarification. He just backs out. It announced that Donpen would remain. I think that this speaks a lot to culture associated with mascots. Not always are design and aesthetics first with this sort of thing, even though it seems like there's so much variety and kind of zaniness to the culture of mascots. Maybe that's exactly what it is that there's a fine balance here of it being refined, marketing tool, and it being a tool of its fans, right? Of the people, the community, the culture of the community that it serves, right? According to the official Donkey website, he enjoys taking walks at night, and it's rumored his appearance changes. Don Quixote was one of the few stores in Japan to turn a profit during COVID-19. Birthday September 8th, male, midnight blue body with a nightcap, diving, fishing, and TikTok are his hobbies. Donko is the female one, pink body with red heart patterns, fashion conscious, loves bathing, and Instagram. Donpen is a mascot. I would say it's a living character, not just a static symbol. It's maybe this is a modern brand still. I think it could become a heritage brand though. It's not too old yet, right? Born in the 1980s. Maybe this is a heritage brand. Maybe Donpen's a heritage character. When does it become... when I think heritage, I think like early 1900s, though. So I'm going to say this is modern. Industry is probably food and retail. Yeah, this is core to the identity. This is the big part of the identity. The colors and everything, right? This is a stylized character. Okay, moving on to Pingu. The stop-motion penguin. Originally created in Switzerland, the clay penguin was named Pingu in 1990, created by Ottmar Gutmann. Was part of an animated frame-by-frame show, lived in an ice world, lots of mischief, and it sort of just like babbled and used this funny language, which allowed it to sold to a lot of different countries and cultures because it didn't speak a single language that needed to be translated. Ottmar Gutmann and Erika Brugman were the original designers. Gutmann specialized in animation work from the 1960s onward with interest in sculpture experimental forms, designed the character Pingu in 1986 and produced the original stop-motion series. Gutmann maintained the sculptural model-based integrity of the show. Studio used replacement parts and consistent puppet molds to preserve the continuity across episodes. While less is publicly documented about Brugman, she is credited as co-creator, co-producer of Pingu. There were revival plans by Mattel and Aardman explicitly aimed to return to the original clay physical medium and respect the aesthetic. I feel like this isn't just a TV character anymore, right? Pingu has kind of become an entity for merchandise and Instagram and like different crossovers. The first place that I saw this was in Japan, actually, at just like their character market and just like around different, you know, store venues. They would have a booth that was just of Pingu merch, you know, and I thought because of its just like modernized shape and form that it was like another Hello Kitty character with its own small line of other characters, right? Pingy, there's Robbie, there's Mother, there's Pinga, there's Pingu, and there's Father, right? Those are sort of the original characters. You can kind of see these evolve over time. You see the new one now, and it has like such a smooth surface compared to the original Pingu. But yeah, you go to like their Instagram feed, and it's just like merch, comics, some clips from the original show, lots of merch, right? So this is its own IP trying to build out its character now. Anyways, this is probably a little different from a mascot, but it is sort of within that character brand realm of merchandising and marketing done through a specific character selling goods and stuff like that. And it does different collaborations and sort of continue to modernize and reshape because it doesn't have backstory that it's trying to stick to, some sort of canon. And it's also not entirely tied to a single product or like a cereal or something either. It is the merchandise is the character itself. Pingu is, maybe this is becoming a heritage brand. It's almost been long enough, I would say. I'm going to say it's still modern though. I don't know why, it just doesn't feel heritage enough yet. It's definitely stylized. It's an animal. It's the core identity. It is now merchandising and like maybe children's television. It's a living character. I'd say it's a cute one too. Yeah, okay, so we have these 4 penguin mascots in different industries, right? Trying to market to all different audiences, right? Books and book readers and modern publishing and a refined feel with Penguin books, to Suica Penguin, which is like tech and transportation and like a modern city element, you know. And then there's Donpen, which is sort of like a funny, fun, chaotic, very Japanese like style of marketing, you know. And then Pingu, which is like our narrative IP, which is turned into a global character brand, right? Each of these, the same animal done in different ways, different colors, line qualities and thickness. Penguin book is definitely much more of a logo. Donpen in all of its shapes and varieties and formats is much more of a cartoon character. Pingu, you know, although it has like its own books and comics, it was rendered originally in clay, you know, and they've maintained that that aesthetic, that tactile feel, although it's been smoothed out and like it's refined its shape and sort of taken on a modern feel to continue that IP on. I feel like some other honorable mentions in this penguin space is maybe like Linux, the Linux penguin, and then like if you remember Kids Cuisine, KC the penguin is there too. I'm sure there's plenty of others. I guess those are kind of more Western penguins, huh? Penguin book is from Europe, and Suica and Donpen are from Asia, and Pingu's also from Europe, right? And so interesting that those have evolved how they have, and they've sort of come across the sea. Donpen is still sort of new. I'd say Suica is Japan specific. You're not really going to see that outside of there unless it's like a fun pop-up thing. And Pingu you might see more of. I think you see that on Amazon and stuff now. I don't know if kids watch that. Mascots aren't just for decoration. They're how brands show a certain amount of soul. You know, there's a story being told. There's an audience that they're serving. And so anyways, that's kind of how I wanted to round out this episode, just by comparing all of those 4, that we have learned how important a community is to a mascot. and when it is interactive, that it is so inviting and approachable and relatable, that it speaks for the brand, and that it embodies values vital to the brand and the company and what they're trying to say to their audience. I think it's interesting to see how a mascot can be served in any industry. Donpen and Don Quijote 24-hour merchandise store could be refined. It could have taken on a totally different aesthetic and a different purpose, and that penguin could have been named something else, and looked entirely different. And we can see how a refined version of that same sort of character exists within a different space.